Check 1, 2, 3. All right, we're good. And 5, 4, 3. Welcome, everyone, and pull up a seat at the table. It's lunchtime in Rome. Tonight's episode 201, entitled Catching Up, kind of, is going to be a little bit about what's been going on. Pull up a seat at the table and join us. First-time listeners can subscribe on your favorite podcast app or watch us live or later at youtube.com/lunchtimeinrome. Visit us at www.lunchtimeinrome.com. While there, you can take our relational needs questionnaire. Make sure to follow us on all social media, and it would be great if you give us a 5-star review. They go a very long way. Jay, what specifically is this podcast about?
Being alone is the worst. Good times aren't as good, and bad times are worse when you're all alone. Romans 12:15 says to rejoice with those who rejoice and mourn with those who mourn. That is how you keep people from being alone, and what this podcast is all about. We normally demonstrated that in the first 15 minutes of the podcast, but tonight it's going to be pretty much the whole podcast, and we talk about it for the rest. So while it may not be 12:15 in Rome, we're treating it like it is
lunchtime in Rome. So if you watch live, you see us do the countdown. If you don't watch live and you just listen to the podcast, you miss the 5, 4, 3, and we don't say 2 or 1. For purposes, though, the technical reason why we do it is so I can get a sample of the silence in the room, so I can remove that.
Never knew that. 201 podcasts in.
Right?
I'm learning something.
So like there is room noise that I just like to remove at the end, and it's a very simple process. But it's also a nod at one of the greatest comedies of all time, Wayne's World. Amy and I went away this past weekend for our anniversary, celebrated our Sweet 16.
May I interrupt you before you get into this delightful story?
Yeah.
I would like to explain the definition of the title of the podcast, because we were supposed to have, Emily on again tonight.
Yes. Which I also want to talk about too.
Right. And that didn't work out, but it is going to happen.
Yeah.
And then, so we're catching up. Hey, we want to catch up with you guys, let you know what's going on with us. But it's sort of because Brian and Chris aren't here, so they're not catching up at all.
Oh, right, yeah.
So we added an Amy, which is great. We went into our vault of Amy's and pulled out number one Amy for now, because she's here, and that's why it's sort of catching up, kind of.
Right.
What do you guys do, Riz? You're not,
I'm the kind of.
We're definitely catching up you, just kind of on all of us.
Right.
Yeah, and catching up, Amy and I celebrated 16 years.
16.
Which is crazy to me.
Yep.
Your marriage can drive.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And we stayed at Etage. I think that's how you pronounce it. Would you stay there again?
No.
No.
Wait,
Yeah.
when was this?
Friday night.
Man, I am a terrible friend.
Why?
I didn't even know.
Well, remember that day, because I think Rachel texted the group that happy anniversary, and then you texted Amy and myself privately, and you were like, "Sorry, happy anniversary."
Right.
Yeah, but you had I
mean, it was go time.
You
for
had
me.
a lot going on, which
Yeah.
we're going to talk about in a little bit. So whatever.
So Etage, where? What? Huh?
It's downtown, right near Market Square, and it looked really cool. When I looked it up. Because they describe it as executive living, and the cool part is it's not just like a hotel room; it's like a little apartment.
Was it Airbnb or is it just
it's straight up like hotel booking.
All right.
And it was cool, but you don't really get that feeling that you're taken care of like you do at a hotel. Mm-hmm. I'm sure we could have called the front desk, but it really felt like you were independent. Like these are your living quarters for the night.
So it felt more like an Airbnb.
Kinda, yeah. That's a good way. If I would have gone into it like thinking of that like that, I would have probably maybe had a little better.
Very modern.
Very too modern.
A little too modern for us.
For my taste.
No mattress, just a quartz rock.
There's
The mattress was good.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was cool. There was like a living room,
was different.
and full kitchen.
Yeah.
So like, and it's also meant for like executive type people to like stay for long periods of time if they're in town. You know,
No fire alarms going off at.
That was a plus.
That's a
plus.
bonus.
that was a
Yes.
bonus.
Shout out sunflower sprouts.
Yeah, but yeah, this place was it was cool. But
Oh yeah, it was great. I mean, there's some.
and we didn't take advantage of all the different amenities because they did have like a rec room with a pool table and ping pong table and things like that.
And a rooftop.
And there was a rooftop
I don't know. If there's a
area. I
bar
don't think there's a
thing.
bar up there.
Well, Rachel and I
and that's
say
the other thing. Like, there's no bar, like
Right.
a
No what?
restaurant bar.
Rachel and I say, it's a Mitlow family adventure.
Yes.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
So we don't do it again, but it was fun and it was
Oh,
cool.
for
Right,
sure.
and we went to
Dinner was excellent.
yeah, dinner was
Where was
really
that
good.
was lovely.
It's like Pizza Oreo.
Pizziolia?
Pizza
I'm butchering
Rolio.
that.
It's in Market Square. It's a little Italian place,
Yeah.
wood fire grill.
Delicious.
It was good eats.
Pizzaiola?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It was good.
Not Pete's Areola. That's a different
Oh
thing.
no, different kind of.
Yeah.
Shout out Pete Collins.
Waitress was fantastic. The drinks were
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah.
So like
really
Yeah.
good. Really good.
Delicious.
Saw our guy singing. What was he singing? Remember
Oh,
that?
the
Mamma
guy in
Mia.
Market Square.
Yeah.
he was singing a Mamma Mia song.
Yeah, he was singing
Dancing
Mamma
Queen.
Dancing Queen.
Yes.
Yeah, that was funny because I was like, there he is, like, and I felt bad because like I didn't have cash, but I was like, all right, this is the second time, and I've taken a picture of him. I owe him next time I go. I owe him like a 10 spot or something, at least a 5.
Yeah.
10. 5 each.
Yeah, there we go.
Of course, then there'll be the third time, 15.
Yeah, right. But a lovely night, but we watched Wayne's World too, because it was on, and for us, like how couples have songs.
Well, that's your movie.
We have Wayne's World, the first one, but Wayne's World 2 is on, which is also hilarious to us. And we just enjoyed. It was just fun. I think that's all I.
And what'd you do Saturday morning?
We went. Slept in. Yeah, slept in. Like we woke up,
Oh, it's
and
the
I was
best.
disappointed and like elated because I woke up and I was refreshed, but I was like, oh, it's already 9:30. Like I was like.
Yeah.
Checkout's in an hour and a half, and that's a good bit of time, but it's also not at the
Right.
same time, because you like on a morning like that, you just kind of like want to get up and slowly get into the day instead of like, all right, now I got to get showered and pack up and everything. But, and then we went to one of Amy's we got coffee at Starbucks at one of the worst Starbucks down on East Carson Street.
Took
And
5 days.
it took 5 days.
5 days to get burnt coffee.
Well, it took 5 days to find parking, and then another 5 to get the coffee. And we were gonna catch breakfast down there, but I couldn't do it. Like Saturday morning, it's just packed with cars. Like we couldn't find like a place to park. I had to let her out just to get the coffee, and then I circled the block and I found a
Like
place
here in
where
Market Square or
No, this is East Carson Street, so South Side.
Ooh.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Saturday morning.
Yeah.
South Side.
So then we went to Hobby Lobby, which is like Amy's mecca.
Sure.
And got a bunch of stuff because like it's so.
No, hold on.
Yeah.
I want to break this down a little bit. So it's your passion, it's your Valhalla, it's your everything.
Yes.
It's not yours.
No, but
So do you tag along right behind? Do you say, I'm going to go check out and go walk somewhere else?
a little
in
bit
the
of both.
store?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I do have input on stuff.
Well, there was a moment walking down the aisle. There was a husband walking behind his wife,
Yeah.
and then Eric's behind me, and we like all lock eyes. And she was like, "Yeah, I only have a few more minutes here," and she's like, "It's like a cattle prod behind me."
Yeah, they were fun. They were fun.
But kind of so, yeah.
Yeah,
Kinda the
but
same thing.
I enjoy that type of stuff up to a certain point.
Sure.
Then I'm ready to go. Like I've already
Right.
seen everything that I need to see.
Yeah.
And she needs to like go still investigate all the
Right.
different nooks and crannies.
And it was the
of
first time
store.
going to this particular one, so it was
Aw.
kind of more stuff
Waterfront
to explore.
or
West Smith Flynn.
Yeah, up near Century 3.
yeah.
There's one in Robinson.
God
one in
rest
West
its soul.
Smith
Right.
Flynn.
But it was fun. I had fun, and we actually went and picked up Maggie, and
Went
from
back.
my parents, and then we went back to Hobby Lobby because she wasn't done.
Well,
Hey.
it was pouring down rain, and we were like, "What else are we gonna do?"
Right.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it was something.
We're either
to
going to
do.
spend a lot of money taking Maggie somewhere that we don't want to spend money on right now, or spend money at Hobby Lobby.
Which we do want to spend money on right now.
Yeah.
That's fun, though. And she
was a fun
probably
day.
had
Oh,
fun.
it was very
did.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get lunch?
Well, we went
Wait,
to
you never had
Sheets on the way.
breakfast?
We went
Oh,
to Sheets on the
breakfast.
way, which I love Sheets. What do we do for lunch?
I don't remember.
I don't
I
either.
don't think we did, because we went to Walmart. We had a big day. It was a long day.
Walmart, Hobby Lobby.
I know. Happy
Happy
anniversary,
anniversary,
sweet
man.
16. I know how to treat a woman. You know what I'm saying?
Pretty nice Saturday, really. Might go
Although
to,
we didn't make it to Bed Bath and Beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost got
R.I.P.
arrested. So.
Right. That's close.
Yeah.
Yep.
that's so funny that you mentioned that we mentioned that because there was a car instead. You know the guy like with the arrow that's like liquidation sale,
Yeah,
20 to 60%. Well, we saw a car like circling around the Century 3 area with that like on the top of it. Like I was like, that's a first.
Well, it's better than having to stand there all day.
This is true.
Hi, Patton.
Hey, Patton's here.
Love me some Patton.
Oh, me too. Good to have you here, buddy. Let me zoom in on that too.
Yeah, it's a little small. Kind of like my Google Doc mistake that I made. I was typing up sermon notes on probably Saturday, I guess. And I because I use a separate mouse, but I leaned on with my thumbs or whatever, the mouse pad or something, and it shrunk everything that's on the whole screen. Mm-hmm. And I've had that happen before, and it's like, because I can touch screen. So I went to my other tabs and they were all fine. So I closed the tab, opened it again. No, it's a Google Doc thing now. Let me tell you, I have looked at every tab, drop down, icon, whatever.
Flipped over every.
It's smaller now. No, I mean on the dock I can go to 150% and it gets back to normal.
Okay.
But just the dock. But all the other
stuff on top.
Turned it off, turned it back on.
When you go back to it, hit Control 0.
There we go.
Really?
Try that.
I did not try that. I tried Control 1, 2, 3, 4. But I didn't try Control 0. And how's Amy?
Okay.
How's the gardening?
Well, good segue. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What's good is bad.
It's been wonderful.
What's good is bad.
Yeah.
For those of you who have not sat at the table long enough with us, everything good brings something bad in Amy's life.
Yeah, pretty much. Woke up Friday morning, and my foot was starting to this feels weird. Maybe I just brew. Okay, whatever. Well, by Friday night.
When you wore heels that night.
Yeah, that was smart.
Yeah.
And walk around the Hobby Lobby all day on that bad foot.
But Saturday morning, I was like,
Preach,
my foot is killing me. And then by Saturday night,
It was bad.
it was so bad.
Yeah.
I didn't sleep.
And you can't do anything with a bad foot.
Yeah,
If
it's
it
always
hurts
on
when
the
you're not
weekend.
on it.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I will say I can handle pain pretty good, honestly. This was the worst pain I think I have ever.
Sheesh.
I mean, it was so bad. So I didn't sleep all night and oh my gosh, what is this? And by Sunday I was like, I can't do anything. We were promised Maggie to go to Kennywood that day, and
Okay, she went to
and
Kennywood.
so she went
With
because
Daddy.
Eric's the best. But I ended up calling off work on Monday. I never call off, so I ended up going to my chiropractor.
Yeah, you never call off.
And he's like, "Yeah, this is probably the worst I've ever seen. It's a tendon. I forget the name of it. It's a tendon that runs right under your foot, up behind your calf, and actually ballet dancers get this
Very
injury,
similar,
or
very similar.
athletes, and I'm like,
Like Liz Frank.
and
That's the injury
It's
that-
basically the
yeah.
tendon that controls your big toe. And yeah. So he was like, my wife, this happened to her a couple weeks ago when she was out gardening. And I think it was a combination, which is so
Gardener's
funny.
toe.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it was a combination of just doing a lot of it in a concentrated period of time.
In bad
and
shoes.
Terrible, not great shoes.
Yeah.
And the constant pounding of it and being on a certain
Angle.
or
Said he-
whatever. Who knows
almost
what I
said
was
something
doing.
really inappropriate. Did he work on your leg and foot?
Yes.
And
Yes, today is the best it's been since
Progress.
Friday.
best or least worst?
Best, least worst. What's that?
I
What?
said best or least worst. Hey, it's almost back to normal, or it doesn't hurt as bad as it did yesterday.
Doesn't hurt as bad.
Ah, that's too bad.
And then he's.
Well, he did say 3 weeks.
Oh well then.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, you definitely didn't fracture it. I mean, I don't see a reason to X-ray it. He's like, it's just that it's like as if somebody took a hammer to your tendon, to your foot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's been amazing. He has this really cool device thing on my foot that's like a laser that supposedly helps the swelling go down through your foot. And he's
like
like,
it.
yeah, this machine's like $7,000.
Yeah.
And
So
I
I'm
will
not gonna
say
break
it
it.
really worked. Yeah. So I have to go back tomorrow and Friday again. I've been there every day.
Yeah, that's you're making progress. It's like, oh, there's
Yeah.
hope.
Yeah.
It's not curling up
I am
and
Got your new shoes.
big supporter of the chiropractor. He's been
proper
great.
chiropractor.
Yeah. And so I'm going to invest in some good hiking boots or something too.
Merles.
because-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So yeah, that's been a rough.
And work's still good?
Yes, work's been great.
I mean, that's what,
And
6 months now?
Yeah, I've been there since January. Yeah, I love it. I really do.
But that's awesome because that was a
Yeah.
leap.
It was. I just thought of that today. And it was a leap. This is a big thing, leaving a company for 10 years and then going into something completely somewhat familiar, but also very new. And
And nobody that's recruiting you or interviewing you is like, here's our bad side. So like know
sure.
you're going to run into
Oh,
that.
right.
You know, nobody's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
we're a terrible place to work for. Come work for us.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, but like I feel like I've been there longer than that. Like even today, everybody was so like, "Oh my gosh, are you okay? We missed you on Monday. Are you feeling better?" And you know, my boss was like, "You know, you could have switched days. It's okay." Like she was just trying to like.
Almost like they actually care.
I mean, they really genuinely.
What kind of game are they
care.
playing?
I know.
What kind of mind games are they playing
Yeah,
with
it's a
you?
good place.
We're doing a committee right now. They do a memorial walk every year that like anybody that's lost a loved one. It doesn't have to be any of our patients, but anybody in the community can go.
Love the look and the hand motion.
I was like,
a loved one, like you just did, Jay.
Yeah, see, look, good segue.
So they do a memorial what?
Walk. It's like a like a 10 to 2 thing, and you go and can
Walk.
Walk on your bad foot.
Yes.
There's
Too soon.
more than that. They're gonna have like different stations set up about how to support somebody during grief and all the things.
Oh, that's
So,
cool.
Yeah. So
Ooh, on the walk. Oh, I like that.
yeah. So we're gonna have it on like stations as you.
So
Yeah.
walk/cry.
Yeah.
No.
Whale.
Yeah.
That's like the idea that I had for a fundraiser for Young Life was a donut dash. And so you talk to like local bakeries and stuff and you get a bunch of donuts donated. And so there's 3 different ways you can participate.
I'm in.
You can either make your own donuts, I guess that'd be another way, but you can come and just sample the donuts, and I don't know, whatever. Okay. You can do a 5K dash. So it's just a race, or you do the donut dash and you eat a donut, run 1K, eat a donut, run 1K,
Wow.
eat a donut,
Oh
do
my
1K, run the last K, and then eat a donut.
And then throw up.
Maybe. But I saw
Wow.
there's some event they have in some beach somewhere where they run. It's not a marathon, but it's a lot. Maybe it's a 10K. And then when they're done, they have to eat 6 donuts and drink 6 beers.
Oh my gosh.
And that's when your time is done. So you have to, that's part of it. But then everybody throws up on each other. At the end.
No.
Yeah. Like it's an honor. Like you
Like
throw
the Gatorade. Like I
Yeah.
am the coach at the end of the game.
Yeah, it was actually Dave Attell's. He was like the host of he would go across the country at all these drinking things.
Yeah.
And that was one of them.
I remember he did that show.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a good show.
Then his liver fell out, so he stopped doing that. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
you'll have that.
Yeah.
So for me, yeah, my mom died. I said this morning at 11, we were in the did you tag that?
Yes.
So,
Sorry, it's
Well,
funny.
matter of fact, no, it was. We were in the chapel of the cemetery saying our final goodbyes because we already said our final goodbyes earlier.
Yeah, but they didn't count.
I guess not. Well, and it was actually great. We were talking about how silly it is. You have to go to the chapel or the I almost said nursing home. You have to go to the funeral home before you go to the church for the funeral, and you have to say because you have to say your final goodbyes. And then we said, well, why do we have to go to the chapel at the cemetery? And they said, because you have to say your final goodbyes. And Michael's like, well, that doesn't make any sense. And Bob's like, look, you just do it, okay? You just do it.
could just see
You
him
just
saying
put up with it and you just do it. And I turned to Michael and I said, well, that's how you got here. It was one of my better lines of the week.
That was good. That was good.
But I'm in the chapel. And I looked at my watch and it was 11:32, which is exactly 1 week from the moment I ran in
yeah.
to my mom's apartment when she
Wow.
wasn't down in the. And I said, I can officially say it has been a week.
Yeah.
It has been a lot of doing in this
Long
week.
year
Wow.
this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. And for those of you who are sitting at the table with us, my mother's wanted to die for, I think I can't figure it out, but it's like 12 years, except nothing's been wrong with her. And in the last few years, she's gotten weaker, but I mean, still lived on her own, but still pretty dadgum healthy. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think any hospital stays outside of, so.
Wow.
But she had a massive brain bleed, but it was amazing how God orchestrated the whole thing. And the fact that it was funny, of course, yesterday was the viewing, and it was like we said, it was something like 217 people or something came through, which was pretty nice.
Wow.
So you tell the same story all over again,
Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
and over
Yeah.
and over again.
Right.
But the one thing was just how God orchestrated all of it, and that my mother I'm sure she was in pain, but that's even in the ER. She's cracking jokes and everything. But
Yeah.
I kept saying how God orchestrated everything in that. I ran into the apartment and she was standing brushing her teeth. And as I turned the corner, she went down. And this only occurred to me like towards the end of the second viewing last night, that all I've said is how God orchestrated everything. And it was so perfect timing and everything else. And I went, well, I mean, maybe 30 seconds earlier, I could have caught her before she hit the ground. Like, maybe I run too slow, maybe, But even then, she didn't hurt anything on the fall other than cutting her arm. But it was so funny. It was like, it took me how many times have I told the story at that point? And I was like, oh, I should probably rather not fallen. But, so, I don't really know where to go with the updates and everything else. Maybe we'll do it longer another time and talk about like what we were thinking about having tonight was the emotional minefield of the death of a loved one, especially in a big family.
And I think that's great. And we can definitely do it again. And I thought, thinking forward, we were originally, this show was going to be about postpartum depression.
Which was great because somebody asked me like, hey, after the funeral, do you want to do this or do that? And I was like, well, I have a podcast on postpartum depression. They're like, you lead a dark life sometimes.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
But I think that should be one of our focuses moving forward as a show. We'll have a little 1-minute show meeting. But like picking a topic like postpartum or death or, it doesn't, anything.
Birth.
Sure.
I don't know why I said that so loud.
And picking apart like why you're feeling intense feelings based on emotional needs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I was reading Patton's comment. But yeah, like how do the emotional needs apply to this significant life event?
Yes.
A wedding.
Yeah, exactly. Because like we can
Divorce.
we can do all kinds of stuff, and I think people would be really enlightened.
And how that
if you're
happens.
feeling this, then you probably have a high need of this, and
Well,
this is what
for
you
example-
need to be, this is how you need to be comforted.
So mom has, and thank you, Patton. I appreciate it, ma'am. It's a wild ride. So probably Thursday night. So mom goes in the ICU, whatever else. But even Wednesday. It was Wednesday. Sorry. We had dinner at my mom's apartment because my sister Kathy was coming to town. She was going to stay there, whatever else. So that night, Belly goes, I don't even know what I'm supposed to feel right now. She goes, because in a way, I'm happy for grandma, because this is what she's wanted. Mm-hmm. But I'm sad for me. But it was really weird being in her apartment without her there.
Sure.
But I was excited to see everybody that was there.
Wow.
So I don't
what
really
a lot
know
of
what I'm
layers.
supposed to be feeling. And I said, wow, Bill. I said, you are right in the pocket.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
that's exactly it. I
Yeah.
said,
Right.
You experience all the emotions.
Yeah.
And the key is to experience them all and not feel like you shouldn't be feeling one way or the
Yes.
other.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, you can apply that to so many different
So many
situations.
things, yeah.
The one thing I would say that I would like to just point out, not even go into, because I said the emotional minefield that is the trauma of the loss of a loved one, the losing of, and then the loss of. And so my family, my mother's claim to fame is that I have 5 nice kids who not only love each other, but like each other. They like to spend time together. All the grandkids like each other, And even given that, and it was such a blessing because, in the ER, which for me was like watching my mother fall, picking her up, putting her onto the commode, as she said. And she was so lucid. She even goes, commode. Nobody uses that word anymore. As she's in mid-stroke
Yeah.
that I didn't know she was
I
having
might
at
start
the time.
using it in honor of Betty.
Shout out commode.
There you go.
But that wasn't traumatic. It was go time and everything else. So we take her, the 911, the paramedics come in, and like God just gives me moments. Like my mother has 100 pictures of all of her kids, grandkids, friends, anything else on her cupboard, closet
Yeah.
when you walk into her apartment. Paramedic walks in, the last one, so it's 2, maybe 3, I don't remember. But the older guy, kind of bald, whatever else, he walks in, he goes, well, that's a lot of pictures. Where's your mom? And it was just like, well, that's outstanding.
Right.
It was just
Another
such a
day.
great random moment, But all that's fine. And they said to us, all right, and it's crazy again to the God thing because they said, where do you want us to take her? UPMC East or Forbes? Nope. And I was like, well, and it's one of those times where like they're looking at me and I'm like, it's one of those times I get to make a decision. All right. I said, well, she goes to Premier. That's AGH. And I'm like, all right, Forbes. And the thing is, in the back of my mind, I have heard some not great things about UPMC East. And it was amazing how well we were taken care of at Forbes.
Well, it's great.
And so it was just those little things. But then as they're leaving, we said, well, what's next? They said, well, we're going to take her out to Forbes. But, you guys want to kind of drag your feet, make your way out there because we're going to be out front for a little bit. So Jan was with me. Like, I had texted her. She wasn't far. She helped me in the moment and everything else because my mom was just leaning up against me from the commode. And I was trapped. Like, I was literally wedged in between my mother and the sink for 20 minutes. And I'm like, if I can like lean her up against the wall, I can go get her office chair that has wheels. I can take a better assessment of her, see how she is, whatever else. Like, if I moved at all, she would flip over. So Jan was there, everything else. So she and I both used the restroom, and then we go downstairs, and the ambulance is gone. And I went, well, that's not good. When they say we're going to be there a while, and then they're not there. Well, it was because it was obviously getting much worse.
Okay.
So I say all that to say, we get to the hospital, and they say, one of you can come back. And so I went back. And that was the most traumatic moment for me because she was, and the only way I can describe it is she was all stretched out. I mean, like she was like just contorted. I mean, her blood pressure was 199 over 111.
Wow.
But that's when she was cracking jokes when they said, do you know who's with you? Number 5, she said. Barely decipherable, but you could still hear it. And so...
Did she ever refer to you as number 5?
Ever?
Yeah.
I mean, not
Not
really.
to you.
I mean,
Maybe
yeah,
not to
I mean,
you.
not really. That wasn't her thing.
Yeah. Because it is funny.
And I don't know why I got into that as far as the trauma goes. Oh,
It was your most...
It was the hardest moment seeing her. Like
yeah, in that
walking
moment.
back and
Oh,
going,
I know why.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll find it. Well, that's true too. But so they said she has a massive brain bleed and we are going to do surgery. And I said, well, excuse me? And they said, it's going to be a long road to recovery. And I was like, well, stop. And I said, wait, are you telling me that if she has this surgery and everything miraculously goes well, you're going to get her back to this, where she is right now? And I said, let me be very clear. I said, I'm pretty sure that's a hard no. I said, I do need to go talk to my siblings. They said, well, does she have a DNR? And I said, let me be very clear. She has a DDA. I said, don't do anything. And, but it was cool because just even that, by the time we came back, they're like, yeah, she's not a good candidate for surgery. And I was like, oh, you think? Thanks, Doc. How many years of med school did you go to come up with that? And I didn't say that. But it was nice that we didn't have to make that call. It's easy to have a DNR, but when you got to say yeah. And that was the point. So then they went over I'm coming full circle. I did find it. When it's easy for mom to have a DNR. A year ago, she added in handwriting a bunch of things to her do not resuscitate and to her living will. And she signed it a year ago. Please, thank you, goodbye. A year ago. Like, she's like, that's what I'm telling you. Whenever this happens, I mean it. So it was Tommy and myself and Marcy. And we were always, frankly, I don't know if she listens to the podcast or not, but Marcy, we're always worried that she would sort of like still be giving CPR while we're all going, no, she didn't want this. Every answer, yes, no, right lockstep. This is what mom wanted. It's time. It's all that stuff. So even in a family, we are that locked and loaded in one step.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
There's still minefields, and so, everything went great one night and then another night it doesn't go great. And so I pulled Kathy and Tommy aside, blowing up some spots here Saturday or Sunday night. And I said, listen, we're not okay. And I need to explain why we're not okay. Because what happens in these moments is you get a little bit bent, you get a little bit hurt. You don't say anything because, well, everybody's traumatized and everybody's this.
Sure.
But it doesn't heal the hurt.
Right.
And you don't have any resolution to it. And so when I did pull them aside and shared that, Kathy said, well, when you said this, I really was this way. And it was funny because at first I didn't agree with her. And to a point, I still don't. But I said to her, well, actually, you should have been more upset if you look at it this way. Because, and she was like, wow, that is a good point. And I'm like, and it was wrong for me to, and so we hammered it out. But it was very intentional and it was very exhausting.
Sure.
And it was 3 minutes. But we're 100% right now.
Yeah.
And it takes that work and that kind of commitment to family and commitment to, we're not going to let the enemy divide us in these moments.
Yeah.
And so that's something we could flush out for a long time, another time. But one thing I did want to share, and at some point you guys are going to have to talk because otherwise it's just me talking the whole night, but there's nowhere for you guys to talk, so whatever. Have you ever heard of the Mrs. Hospice Care lady? You?
Okay. Yes.
The ball in the box. The grief ball in the box.
Not heard of that specifically, but I have an idea.
So Matthew pulls me aside and tells me that his father-in-law isn't very wise in the ways of emotional needs. And he didn't tell the whole story. Apparently somebody had died and he wasn't handling it well. Look at Eric's already brought it up. And so the idea, and it's funny because I mean, I've been in the emotional needs game for a while now, and I've heard that, the grief is more of a slinky and, it's not a straight line and it's all those things.
Right.
But that we have a pain button or a trauma button on the box, which is
Inside the box.
the box is our emotions, for lack of a better term. The ball is our hurts, the trauma, the grief, the whatever.
Right.
And when you first have something happen, the ball is very big and it barely fits inside the box. So it's always banging that pain or the trauma button. But
True.
as you heal, the ball gets smaller. And as comfort is attached to grief in our terms, and there's healing, the ball gets smaller. And so it's banging around in there, but it's not hitting the pain button. But every once in a while, it still does.
Yes.
And I was like, and so right now, when everybody's, raw and it just happened, your, trauma ball or whatever you
Sure.
want to say is much bigger. And I was like, that is a brilliant analogy.
That is a good analogy.
Oh, yeah, it's a good
Because
visual
it's why
too.
you can be 20 years later and you see
Right.
that one commercial that you and Uncle Wally watch together or whatever,
Yeah.
and it hits that trauma button.
They call them grief bursts. And like I've through my work I've taken a lot of certifications or like trainings on grief, which has been really something I never thought I'd get into, but it's actually quite interesting. And like when you talk about the trauma, it's like however you reacted to trauma back in whatever happened is exactly how you're going to grieve. Like it's not going to be any different.
Flesh that out some more.
So if you have any kind of trauma, it could be anything or anything that you react to, like your hurts, however they come out, a lot of times that's also the same way you're going to grieve.
Okay. So it's your conditioned response, not conditioned response. It's your response
Yeah.
to, in this case, intense hurt,
Right.
which is, the definition of trauma is a pain greater than you can
Like
handle
however you
at
react
a
to
given time.
like the coping, I should say. Like if you cope in a unhealthy way, could very well treat like a trauma, it could like a grief, like a death. And it could also change from if it's a spouse versus a grandmother. You know what I mean? Like you have a different reaction to different people in relationships too. But if your coping mechanisms and how you react to things after somebody passes, like your grief can come out the same way.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because isn't it just, it's a different way to look at it. It's still a hurt. And we talk about how
Right.
hurt goes to anger, guilt, self-condemnation, or what's the fourth one?
Fear.
Fear.
Is that kind of what?
And or a manifestation of any of those.
Yeah. Is that kind of what happened to me in the Dollar General about my grandma? Do you
Yeah,
remember
you
that?
have grief bursts.
Yeah. So like,
Yeah.
so to put that,
I'm glad you added grandma, because otherwise that would be a really traumatic Dollar General story.
yeah.
So what happened to me in Dollar General, I still grieve that moment.
Well,
But, yeah,
and I
grandma.
think I've actually mentioned this on the show before, but my grandma passed away. This was years ago. And Jay, like you've talked about, like, it's not really on Christmas. I mean, some people have
Right.
heavy sadness
Yeah,
on
it's not
Christmas.
their birthday or
right.
so this
anniversary of the death or whatever. Some people are like that, but
or that. Tuesday, 3 p.m. at a
it was
Dollar
literally
General.
like, it was, Tuesday at Dollar General. We walk in and it was springtime and I see all this like, spring decoration stuff of like, cardinal birds and flowers. And it just reminded me of her and it just hit me right in the gut. And I was like, ooh.
I don't want to cry in a Dollar General. I don't want to cry in a Dollar General.
yeah, that's pretty accurate. But I did.
Yeah.
This afternoon, actually, I was cleaning up after being on the disc golf course, doing some weeding, and the landline rang. And I was like, oh, I wonder if it's, no.
Isn't there
If
like
it's my mom.
Right. There's like
And I really hope it's not at this point.
The knock on the door. That means someone's gonna. You ever hear those weird
Oh, yeah.
superstitions? Yeah.
Well,
Knock on the door, nobody's
Yeah.
there.
and
Yeah.
it's, you talk about how you deal with grief and how you deal with trauma and everything else, because my family, this can be a shocker, we use a lot of humor, and
Yeah.
so the very first night, I said, well, anybody want to, send an email out for mom? Because we're in her place where her apartment is. And Bob goes, wait till after the funeral. Hey, thanks for coming. It was nice seeing you guys there. We decided not to do that. not yet. But then, so the other night, Tommy pulled Tyler and Hunter aside, and he said, "Hey, listen, I want you guys to know, if your mother and I get into a car accident and die, you guys are screwed on how to handle all of our stuff." Because like we've gone through it now with Dad.
Yeah.
We're going through it with Mom,
Yeah.
who is much more organized, shocker,
Right.
than my dad. But he's like, "You guys are absolutely screwed." And he said, we talk about, living wills and everything else. And I said, I've thought about making a video of in case I die suddenly, for my loved ones that say, "Listen, I know it's sad, but I'm I'm in a better place, whatever else. And I'm excited and I want you guys to be with me," and all that stuff. And it just kept morphing into more and more ridiculous, and Tommy's like, "Yeah, you're never going to believe who's here." And I said, "And who's not?" I told you this,
Yeah.
but I said, "Hey, that Jesus thing, that only gets you in the door. They hold you accountable for all your sins." And Matthew, of all people, Matthew goes, "Yeah." He goes, "They made me watch mine." And then he sighs and he goes, "I'm going to have a really pensive drive home now." But we did lots of fun stuff like that throughout the week. Otherwise, it was great to have the support. And I'll tell you what blew my mind. So we had our care team provided dinner Thursday. I don't know if it was Wednesday. Did we do Wednesday? We must have.
What happened Wednesday?
It happened Wednesday. I know we ate. So no, we must have just done. I don't know. It's not worth it. I figured it out. But they provided meals Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then through a connection with Jess Mohans.
Yeah, shout out.
Mohans. They provided the meal for us in between the viewings yesterday, and then Heather Houlihan and Addison Avenue Catering provided it today. The number of times now, my family, all of them are avid churchgoers. Mm-hmm. They're all involved in good churches, much as I know. I think around. They're like, "Is this from your church as well? Is this another? Did they really provide this?" Oh, poop my pants! I forgot your bowls and your thingy. Tommy just handed it to me, and I left it at Mary Lynn's.
It's fine.
And I was like, "I remember
Totally
this, and I'll
fine.
take it out there." So my bad. But and again, I mean, Rich DeFazio. I have to tell that story.
He
But I
looked at me across the restaurant last night. It was great. It was a great moment.
But just the outpouring of love and support. And, like Kathy said, "You're in the circle." And I said, "Right. What?" and she's like, "Well, we spend our lives like helping out people. Now you're the one in the love circle that everybody is loving." And I was like, "I don't love the analogy, but that is nice." But even like my people were shocked. My family was shocked at quote unquote my people. And I'm like, where do people go to church? Like, this is what
Right.
we do.
This
Like,
is what the church
Yeah.
This
does.
is what it is all about. And the number of people offering and stepping up and, the kind words and the notes. And like, even like today, I tried to take a nap. Didn't work real well. Come downstairs and there's a box. And I open up the box. And actually, I was going down the stairs and I went, "Let it be for me and let it be really awesome."
And there's a
I'm
ball in
thinking, materialistically speaking, yeah, there's a grief ball in it. And it said, "Love Mom." And I was like, "Oh!" And I opened it up, and it was for me. And I was like, "Oh, that's sweet." And it was a fruit basket, and it said, "May this help you, blah, blah, blah." Dawn and Donna Leone, who come to the 9 a.m. service, and it said Romans 12:15.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
I started to cry in the kitchen.
Oh, man, I would too.
I cried today once during the ceremony for like 10 seconds, and then when Bella was singing,
Yeah.
and then here.
Yeah.
And it was just such pure love
Wow.
Yeah.
in that moment. And I texted them as much. I said, for whatever reason, this made me really tear up in this moment.
Wow.
And they're like, "We're sorry."
Yeah.
No, that's awesome.
cool.
That's amazing.
Love that.
So this morning, we're in a Catholic church because my mother was uber Catholic. And so it's kind of a new experience for Joe and for Bella and for Leah to a degree.
It's a lot of
and,
doing.
And, and so the first song was How Great Thou Art.
All right. Classic.
They're like, "Oh,
And
we
it's-
know one."
And it's already funny because like they didn't seat us. Like they're like, "Sit wherever you want." And I was like, it seats 800.
I was going to say, it's a huge
There's
church
4
in there,
first
yeah.
rows in this church,
Yeah.
And so it's already hilarious. And I'm trying not to be inappropriate or
You all sit in completely different parts
we
with
kind
nobody
of
near.
did. I mean, like Marilyn and Bob and the Plushkowskis were top right in the middle, but like
Joe's way in the back.
yeah, but like Rachel, who was doing a reading, and Bella, who was singing, are in the second row. Turns out Bella was sitting. It was so funny. Tommy goes, well, let's go sit down in Mom's seat. I went, right.
Where's that?
Where's that? Because I would always just drop Rachel off to take Mom to church so the parking worked better. But so I'm saying, I was next to Kathy, and then Mia was next to me as well, which was good because she was very sad. So like I could be that gentle comedic or just the gentle hand. Like at one point I had a rip roaring joke locked and loaded. And because she was like 2 or 3 feet away from me, I walked over and I'm like, wait, she's sobbing. And so I just put the hand on the shoulder, scoochied back. But how great thou art. And I'm standing there next to Kathy, which is awesome. And I went to put my hand up to worship.
Yeah.
Well, that's not so much a Catholic thing.
Oh, yeah.
And so I put it down.
You feel it like you get hit back down. You're like, what the heck was
Yeah,
that?
like it's like a ceiling. It's like- and so in a moment, I got sad that here I am, I can't worship. But then, because I was caught up in, man, how great God is, you know? So I'm worshiping, and I put it down, and then I laughed to myself because I'm like, this is so fun. This is exactly what we're talking about. Like, I am in this socially conscious uber moment. And then I realized, man, even in a traditional, how do I put this without being somewhat disrespectful, less than overly charismatic environment,
Sure.
I was led to worship. But even in, you know,
Yeah.
and that broke me down.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just such a sweet moment. And then Rachel, of course, did fine given her reading. And I had told her that she had to raise her hand when she said the book of the Bible.
Which you don't.
Like days ago, which you don't.
Yeah.
And then and Joe said when she finishes, he goes, I don't know what you're supposed to say at Catholic Mass because there's always the responses and
Right.
stuff.
Yeah.
So he was going to say, amen, hell yeah, yep. And then Tyler made a video because he was doing the responsorial, the Lord hear our prayer or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And he made a video the other night of him practicing, and it was pee or pants. He was like, that those of the departed, And he goes, I think that Mary Lynn had said something, because there was a lady that would escort you up, like walk and make sure you didn't fall, like no matter who you were, up to the lectern.
Or like
the Oscars.
or it's like the ladies there, like, we know you don't go here, so we're
Right.
just going to help you so you don't look embarrassed.
But he said that she walked up. He goes, I think Mary Lynn said something to her because she walked up behind me and she goes, read this, just this. like
Right.
don't ad lib like he was going to or something. But I said the beauty of Tyler, because he did it very professionally and everything else. But I said, you think it's the focus, because he would put his hand out, Lord,
Right.
hear our prayer.
Yeah.
But he would raise his hand and then do a small head nod each time, like he's approving of you. You're just peeing your pants the whole time.
Communion? Did you guys do? Did
Well,
you guys do that?
Rachel's line is always, not
That
always.
You're not really, yeah.
Well, they say if you're not Catholic or you're not in a whatever it is, you can't receive communion. If
Right.
you are Catholic, if you haven't been to confession or whatever,
Right.
you can come up and get a blessing. And she's not a big fan of having people she doesn't know bless her. And her line at the one funeral was, I don't know where that guy's been. Maybe I'll bless him. Which would be great. Like, you block it. Nah, I'll bless you. No, but we didn't. Joe leans over to me. Vinny was there, Dizzy and Vinny. And they're great. And like, we're so blessed by so many people. But Joe leans to me and goes, man, he shoved that down Vinny's mouth. We're all experiencing things for the first time, son.
There's the quote.
Yeah.
But that's good.
Yeah, that's good call. But Bella did sing Let There Be
Oh,
Peace
that's
on
nice.
Earth. And it was so cool when we were talking about it, because Bella's like, well, I could sing. And Rachel was like, no.
Thanks, Mom.
I know.
Right. Because
Too emotional.
Rachel,
My God-given
Rachel
gift here.
felt that Bella was feeling pressured into doing it. And then Bella goes, well, I think Grandma would have wanted me to sing.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing that she volunteered it, and,
And it was all her.
That's
And and of course
amazing.
that
That's
did-
a hard thing to do.
That
Oh my
did
gosh,
hurt
that's
Bella's
huge.
feelings that Rachel said no.
Yeah.
And
Well,
we had to,
sure.
Rachel's like, no, I was protecting you from everybody else, and the pressure.
Right.
And that we do want to hear you. And so it was just it was a lovely
Yeah.
experience in a lot of ways. Surreal. And like they have a fountain for Easter by the altar.
Like a water, like
Like a decorative
Yeah.
fountain
yeah.
running whole time.
Yeah, not a drinking fountain.
No. 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 I don't know if you know me.
Can you drink from it though?
You
could
could.
you? Yeah.
You could. But I have to pee a lot.
I was gonna say
yeah.
your bladder
Yeah,
is
yeah.
like the size of a bee.
That's before, so I
Yeah.
still had to go through everything. Oh, so the joke that I had was they do the incense.
Oh yeah.
Well, Marcy doesn't like smells.
Especially the incense, like what that they burn. I don't know what
Yeah.
the smell is, but it is not like your typical.
And Kathy
incense.
goes, Marcy's going to whip out a mask. And so that's what I was going to tell Mia, but then she was crying. And later on, Bob goes, left-handed incense guy. You don't see too many of those. He goes, he had good action on it, though. He had good action. Because sometimes you go more of a circle, but I liked his up and down. It was a nice touch.
I love it.
So that's how I've been. Excited. We're going on a disc golf trip coming up here. Just an overnighter. A little overnighter.
I am so excited.
But the weather's supposed to be good. I'm excited for that. Memorial Day's coming up.
Yeah, this weekend.
Apparently.
Yeah.
Yep.
Was
Prom? Kennywood?
So not only
yeah.
this morning, I don't even know if this will go through.
While you're looking that up, does this kick off does
Summer?
Memorial Day kick off Kennywood open like fully?
I think so.
Okay, so we could use because I have summer Fridays now.
Right?
So not only did my day start like this, not like that.
Techie guy.
Yeah,
You're
techie
gonna
guy.
You're probably gonna want to hold the bottom of the phone to the mic. I think.
Hello. I have an order here for a Joseph Matildo cake at Giant Eagles.
I think it came through.
Yeah,
I've been alive for 52 years.
Oh man.
that's a
I've
good.
had Milto.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've had it misspelled Mitlo with a W. I had a Japanese professor in college eventually get it to Jitlo,
Yeah, I like that.
of which Laura Troop, shout out Laura Troop, still calls me that to this day. Jitlo.
It's like Jay Mitlow combined.
Matildo.
Right. But
I woke Bella up with that today, and
So
she was like, "You're adding not only consonants but whole syllables that aren't even there." Yeah. So the cake, you guys don't know this. The cake comes. Now we had it. We had a big talk about ordering a cake. I mean, the number of things you have to do in a week are crazy.
It's
is.
a lot.
And-
It's
yeah.
a lot of doing.
And of course, I sort of took on the food.
Yeah.
And so I was like Mr. Gluten-free guy, which you talk about emotional needs. I was like, wait, in the break of the viewing, Mohans, I said, do you just want to go with cold foods rather than a whole hot food thing? And Marcy replied, well, hot foods would be better for the gluten-free people. And I was like, right there. That's one of the minefields. You're telling me, A, a food thing, B, about gluten-free. And by the way, you're wrong.
Right.
It was so great. And I was just like, so, you screenshot it, put an arrow to it, send it to Rachel, we move on, But, so I did the food thing all week, had to do the cake. And so we were doing it the other night, and I'm like, okay, full sheet. And it was like, I'll leave all the details out. We finally decided it would say Betty, but then it would say Mom, Grandma, Gigi Ma, which is what that's her great grandma name,
yeah.
friend, aunt. I think that was all we had on it.
all of her titles.
Right. So they called this morning because they didn't understand. It doesn't say happy birthday. It doesn't say congratulations. It doesn't say anything. How should it look? So I
Just a plain cake.
so I call back. I say, put Betty in the middle. Put all those things around it. Yellow flowers, green lettering. Done. Because Marcy said you don't do red. It kills people immediately if you get red icing.
It does taste awful.
Well, I
It
think it's
does.
more of a chemical,
It's like a bitterness to it. It's gross.
So as I walk into the funeral luncheon, Heather Julian comes up to me. She goes, well, you were right to be concerned about that cake.
Oh, man.
Oh no.
She said, apparently their decorator called off today. So we go over, and the font's pretty bad.
And this is Giant Eagle Rodi?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
The font's pretty bad. And Gigi is at the bottom, and Ma is in the top left.
Oh, man.
And somebody said, ground me? And we're like, no, that's grandma.
This is like the cake cracks.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
cake cracks.
Oh, it's
Did
great.
you take a picture of it?
Somebody did.
Okay.
So for the
wanna
Matilda,
see
for
it.
the Matildo cake,
It's all red icing.
pink flowers. Supposed to be yellow, pink. I
man.
said, I understand your decorator
Wow.
didn't come.
Man.
So we had pink flowers with green letters.
And you had
the only
someone
reason
call
why I
to
did yellow
clarify.
was Mom went to Slippery Rock, so it's green and yellow are their colors. Whatever.
Yeah,
It didn't
it's
matter.
springtime. It's good color.
But I said, I understand your decorator came. That's why you have the bad font.
yeah.
How'd you mess up pink from yellow?
For yellow, yeah.
Like, that's not even a colorblind thing. Like,
Right.
those are two different families
Yeah.
altogether.
Yeah. Wow.
So we had a good time. Matthew and Riley at their table, they boycotted the pink. They didn't eat the pink.
Okay.
Out of boycotting to be funny, which was.
Right.
So,
Wow.
So a lot
What
of
other food did you guys get?
did you see what Patton wrote?
Jedi Master Jitlo.
That's still more accurate than
That's so good.
Matilda. What food did we get for the?
Yeah, I'm curious, like with the meals that people made.
Oh, the meals, not
Yeah.
just the meal today for the luncheon.
Right.
Whew. All right. Well, we can reverse engineer it.
And they were all the best.
Well, that goes back to the Rich thing. He came up to me. You guys made sliders, 3 different kinds. Funny story. You sent me a text saying there's 2 roast beef, 2 Italian, and one ham and Swiss.
2 ham and Swiss, 1 Italian.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, he only made 5 sliders? But then I said,
I'm like, he'll talk to Jesus. It'll be a fish and loaves kind of deal.
but he
you know?
does the Hawaiian King rolls.
Right.
And those were whole sheets
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah.
And I mean, and it only went through my brain for half a second because I'm like, no, Eric's my guy. He got this.
And I was even like, well, is this going to be enough? Because I had upped it. When you said 20, I was like, oh, I got to do more.
Right. So Rich comes out to me and he goes, oh, this is the best one yet. He goes, I'm into 5, I think 5, it's probably more, of the roast beef, 3 or 4 Italian. I think I had one of those ham and Swisses. I don't even like Swiss. I had to walk away. And I said,
That's
awesome.
and he's like, who made this? And so no, that was huge hit. And then the potato salad, your first
That
ever.
was a great
I
potato
know.
salad.
I was really putting
That
it
was
out
really
there.
good.
I was like, oh,
Yeah.
it was good.
and
There's a
they're
lot of potato salad.
And for
made a
all of
lot.
you out there
5 pounds.
who are helping out, 5 pounds.
Of potatoes.
Who are
Gold
helping
yellow
people going through these situations, always see is somebody organizing. Because that day, Tommy's neighbors, God bless them, dropped off what? A tray of sliders?
No
and
way.
Fruit.
No way. And fruit, because we
way.
did fruit too.
Yep,
That's
you did a
right.
great fruit bowl.
Hilarious.
Homemade slider?
I mean,
What's their slider look like?
No, they bought them. So then before that was, we had a lasagna,
Love a good lasagna.
roasted chicken, rice, gluten-free muffins, brownies, which went immediately
Yeah.
before anything else.
Yeah.
That was a meal. It was lovely. It was all real good.
Icing on the brownie or no icing?
No, straight up old school crackle top
I
brownie.
love a crackle top brownie.
Crackle top
No
brownie. I've never
icing.
heard it described that way.
No,
but we
but that
have
is
just done a
perfect. Yes.
Crackle top. Crackle top crusty corner. Brownie.
Slightly underdone.
Yes.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we also had rotisserie chickens, beef. I'm getting cramped up here. And I'm going to feel bad.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, I'm going back over the days.
there's a lot going on.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Yeah, so we're getting further back. I'm forgetting. But I mean, everybody that made it, we didn't have a bad meal. I mean, didn't have a bad anything. Oh, Brussels sprouts was part of that one meal, which was lovely. Lots of salads. Banged out some salads as well, which is good. So no, that was the different meals we
Yeah.
had. It was funny for the in-between meal for Mohan's. I ordered 24 extra hot dry rub wings.
Yeah.
Which again, I went with not hot food, but a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I did a baked ziti, whatever. But I did those because I realized they're too hot for most people, and then I would get the leftovers.
Yeah.
I walked away with only 3.
Ah.
I was so mad. I'm like, oh, hey,
backfired.
that's great. You guys are enjoying the wings. Kind of for me there. But anyhow, so yeah, it worked out well. It was good. I do feel bad. I can't remember some of the meals. That's why I'm looking them up right now. But it was great, and we were blessed, and we're very grateful.
Sounds like we're about to wrap things
I
up
think we
here. For next week, are we going to have Emily on for the postpartum thing? Or we don't know yet?
There's no way of knowing.
Okay. We'll be here, though. We will be here, and we will do a podcast. But, Hun, would you take us out?
Yep. That's it for episode 201. Please make sure to give us a like or follow on social media and visit us at lunchtimeinrome.com. While there, take our relational needs questionnaire. Thanks for joining us at the table for Lunchtime in Rome.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.